Hello students. Hey, I just want to talk to you for a few minutes about charts and graphs that we see in our world and the warning, I guess, the caution, perhaps even the plea to be careful about what charts you're looking at and how you interpret them and that sort of thing. So we see a lot of charts and graphs in our world today. A lot of it comes at us and we believe it because it looks official. It seems to make sense to us. But I'm going to challenge you just in the next minute or two here just to be careful when you see those sorts of things. All right, so charts and operations, charts in our business, charts are used extensively in managing what we do. And like I said, there's an overabundance use of those sometimes. And it's easy to get into this trap of running the business by the charts, even when these are like statistical charts. Sometimes we run our business by the numbers, and we believe what they say without ever going out into the core of the business, chart in hand, to actually go inspect and look to see, does the data I see on the chart make sense with what I'm observing anecdotally in my environment or in my operation. So charts are not bad, all right? And they usually describe some sort of quantitative measurement that's important to your business, but just don't believe them because they're there. Go verify to make sure it makes sense. So I'm going to show you a few charts here real quick. And then we're going to talk for a second about them. Here's chart number 1. Take a look at that one. Chart number 2, something to do with timber production. And chart number 3. This is called a spider diagram, by the way. I'm not sure if how anybody is used to using these, but they're pretty good. They can be a little bit busy to look at. All right, so 3 different samples of charts, and now here's what I'm going to challenge you with. Always ask these 4 key questions. Number 1, what's the chart telling me? Number 2, what's this chart not telling me? And number 3, what questions do I have about this chart? And number 4, what can be done to ask the questions? What can be done to improve the trend or the story that this chart is showing me? So again, what's the chart telling me? Really ask, what's it not telling me? Like, don't draw conclusions from the chart that aren't there. Okay, don't make it into it. Don't make the chart tell you a story that isn't true. What questions do you have, and what can be done to improve the trend of the story? Now let's look at those charts again with those 4 questions in mind. Sample number 1. What's this chart telling me? Not really sure. There's no title. There's no no units or definition of what the vertical axis is over here. We know this is by time. We have no idea what this is about. So this chart isn't telling us a lot, and we have a lot of questions about it as well. What about this chart? Timber production. Now this seems to all be properly labeled and everything, but one of the first questions that comes to mind should be like this repeating pattern that looks like an M every quarter. All right. So this should be causing you to ask some questions. Okay, I can see what it's trying to tell me, but there's an upward trend, so the magnitude is getting greater. What is the story behind this? So you should generate some questions, whoever produced this chart, of what's causing the increase. And why is it at the beginning of every year, in January, there's a dip in the timber production, right? This doesn't tell me, by the way, how profitable I am, or what the revenue is. It just tells me what the timber production is. Don't assume that the revenues are going up. Don't assume that your profits are going up. You don't know. Here's this 3rd chart, warehouse assessment, the spider diagram. Again, what's it telling us? Well, it says, okay, the best-in-class measurement for each of these 6 different metrics is out here in the green. All right. It's also telling me this is where my company's at today, measured against each of these 6 metrics. Here's some questions. What does it mean? I know what best in class is, but like, where do they get the definition of best in class for these particular metrics? Were they part of some sort of trade association's definitions? And then I'd also want to ask, hey, why is there this big gap here? Who's the owner of warehouse labor, and why is there a big gap here? If this really is a legitimate best in class measurement, why aren't we out there? What do we got to do to get there? Again, what this doesn't tell us how profitable we are. Doesn't tell us what our operational costs are. It just gives us some warehouse assessment data. So don't overread this chart Don't make it tell you a story that isn't there. Okay, so one last time. What's the chart telling me? What's this chart not telling me? What questions do I have? And what can be done to improve the trend or the story? All right, listen, I hope that's helped you. Whenever you look at charts in this course or other courses, always ask those 4 questions. What's it telling me? What's it not telling me? What questions do I have? And what can be done to improve the trend or the story?